Joining me now in the studio to discuss the Syrian crisis is Middle East expert Dr. Michael Widlanski, author of the hard-hitting book Battle for Our Minds, Western Elites, and the Terror Threat. Welcome, Dr. Widlanski. Are the U.S. and Europe preparing for a military strike against the Assad regime in Syria?
I think they're preparing for something. I wouldn't expect it to be major. I think they're going to use standoff platforms, probably not employ infantry or armor, but maybe the use of cruise missiles, a few of them, maybe some drones, maybe some land-based missiles from Turkey, although I wouldn't be sure.
The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov a short while ago held a news conference. He said there is absolutely no proof that Assad used chemical weapons. The West can't prove it. Russia and Iran have been propping up the Assad regime during this bloody civil war. How will Moscow and Tehran react if a military strike is conducted?
Well, Russia is already bitching. Russia does not have that much that it can do. Russia is not in a great situation, and neither is Iran. Both of them need Syria as their window to the sea, the Mediterranean, the port of Latakia. If the Syrian regime of Assad is seriously hurt, Syria, both Iran and Russia. They are protesting a little bit too much. It's a little bit like the Shakespearean comment, methinks they protest too much. Lavrov, of course, is lying himself. There is plenty of evidence. There have been 4 or 5 cases of extreme use of chemical weapons by this regime, which is a Ba'athi regime, just like Saddam Hussein. It's very interesting that Bush had to deal with the Iraqi Ba'ath, and now you should pardon the expression, Obama has to get wet with the Ba'ath of Syria.
Just yesterday, a Syrian official threatened to set the Middle East on fire if Syria is attacked by international forces. Will Assad order an attack on Israel, either by his own Syrian forces or perhaps through his proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon, which has tens of thousands of missiles aimed at Israel?
I would bet against it because there's no surer recipe for the end of the Assad regime than to attack Israel. Israel doesn't have the ideological blinders that Barack Obama has. Israel doesn't have the philosophy of not getting involved. If Israel is attacked, Israel will respond. Saddam Hussein, by the way, knew this also. And that's why Saddam Hussein had a very limited attack on Israel, didn't use chemical weapons, although he had them. And I believe that the Assad regime will not employ anything serious against Israel. We have a very good example. 2007, Assad misplaced his nuclear reactor, or just disappeared. Well, somebody had something to do with it. What was his response? I don't think he'll respond against Israel, because there's no sure way, and he knows this, no sure way for a decapitation attack on the Syrian regime.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has informed his cabinet for the last 2.5 years of the Syrian civil war and not to speak out publicly. Now, as we just heard, the Prime Minister has spoken out and said, using chemical weapons, that's crossing the line. Assad must go.
There are 2 things here. Netanyahu has put his finger on it very well. There's the moral question and there's the strategic question. The moral question, especially as Jews, we understand that if you allow a power, Nazi Germany, Spain, Italy, to go in and rub people out with chemical weapons and do nothing, it means moral turpitude. The other thing is, if strategically, if you sit back and you don't do anything, you're inviting further use of this kind of weapon of mass destruction. So it has to be responded, it has to be met. It has to be met strongly. If it's not met, and that's my fear, if it's a kind of a tepid reaction by the Obama administration, I think it's the worst possible result.
Dr. Michael Widlanski, author of Battle for Our Minds, Western Elites, and the Terror Threat. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.